Welcome, everybody. This is our next live stream for the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully. I am Lindsey Frank, and I am the president of COSM, and we are very grateful for Laurie to be here with us as another amazing board member and change maker in this work, as well as we're honoring SEL Day, as well as International Women's Day, really allowing our hearts to connect through our women leadership as well. And I wanted to just give a little shout out here for a moment that just beforehand at our last session, I was noticing even within my own body, this amazing charge and how our bodies are always giving us data. They're always talking with us, connecting with us. And I wanted to follow through and follow up with all of you about even just these small moments of changes that we get to create from that awareness. So prior, I was standing. I decided to change my environment to support me. So now I'm sitting down here. I have I made a cup of tea. For me, tea is something that is very, we say grounding to bring us present and just that warmth. I also just grabbed a couple different resources, and in my mind, I was going through one of the resources in one of my children's books called POPs. It's Our People, Objects, Place, and Self. And I was going through those different strategies just to support myself as well in this moment, and being able to share that with you so that you can share that in your classroom as well. So I wanted to follow up before we got started here today with Laurie. And Laurie on our board, her presence is, just such a beautiful, loving presence in a space. And I'm just really grateful to have Laurie here with us, and I'm going to read her information here so that you can connect with Laurie as well. So Laurie is in Virginia, and in our board, we are all over the United States, and we even are in other countries like Jakarta. Laurie is a mindfulness-based SEL specialist and serves Roanoke City Public Schools as the coordinator for mindfulness education. She leads professional learning in the district for adult SEL, mindfulness-based SEL, and co-creates SEL communities of practice for educators. Topics addressed include the trauma-sensitive classroom, the ruler framework for SEL, mindfulness in the classroom, health and well-being workshops, and cultivating awareness and resilience in education, so CARE. She also facilitates team building practices, including mindful listening and the development of emotional intelligence competencies. Laurie is happiest when supporting teachers and teacher leaders in their schools. At Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, she is the course director for the Foundations of Mindfulness Practice, offered to first and second year medical students. She is certified with Koru Mindfulness and Care through Create for Education. So, Laurie, thank you so much for being here and the work that you do and everything that you bring into the world and supporting educators and leaders. So I'm going to pass it on over to you and just sharing anything about COSM or this work that you're doing.
Thank you, Lindsey. It's so good to be here this afternoon and to be able to share for a few minutes with everyone who's listening and watching. And I thought a lot about COSM and what it has meant to me. I believe that the community that we co-create truly supports educators. And I loved from the very beginning when I heard that this was educator created and educator led, because that to me speaks to the growth of our educators to become leaders within their own sphere of influence, whatever that is, within their schools, within their school divisions. And I truly believe in that work, which is why I think it's so important that we partner always, right? We're always partnering and co-creating spaces that we can all share. And then last, I love that COSM keeps mindfulness at the core of everything we do. Every meeting we have, every event, every offering, that we bring the mindfulness practice into that space. And that is something that I really honor.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Laurie. And for those who are tuning in for our live stream here, if you weren't able to see our welcoming session, we always come back to our vision and our mission together. So thanks for pulling that in here, because that's why we align with this work and who we are, and especially as educators. We've also shared how we are reflections of the different nervous systems within our space, but then also we are creating that space within us. And I know that's a huge passion of yours. Would you like to share a bit further about that work that you're doing to support the educator well-being and leader well-being?
Absolutely. That's why the mindfulness part of MBSEL is so critical, that we always, begin within ourselves. And, we call that an inside out approach.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I begin that work to really get to know myself, to understand my emotions, to be able to work within and understand what I'm thinking, what I'm planning, what I feel moved to do, that is how we become authentic and really embodied in the work that we're doing. In other words, we are modeling and we are teaching it just by our presence and the way in which we connect with ourselves and the way in which we connect with others. And, to me, the critical aspect of that is the adult SEL component, because as adults, if we can learn enough about our own emotional weather and what that's all about, and then we can also learn very specific skills and strategies and practices to pause and to be able to, rather than always be in reaction mode, if we can learn to stop and pause and take just a moment to, inhabit that gap between the stimulus and the response, then we're putting ourselves in a situation and in a position where we can choose what we say or do next. And in education, this is a huge competency. When we can do this and not be that reactive, I'm reacting out of this, stimulus response, but actually taking a moment to either ground ourselves or to take 3 breaths, which is a practice I'd like to share in a few moments, if that's okay. Whatever that looks like for us, and it may look different for every teacher, but whatever that is, learning to do that and inhabit that gap and take that purposeful pause can be a game changer. And we, in essence, have a greater impact as a result, right? Because we're choosing our actions very wisely. And I think it was Mark Brackett who said, how educators feel influences nearly everything in education, from instructional quality to adult relationships, to relationships with students and families, to our school and classroom climate. And the way to know how we feel is to create that purposeful pause.
Mm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, that is beautiful. And, that has been a theme throughout each of these so far that's naturally come up, is the pause and the power of the pause. And I appreciate that you brought up that stimulus and response, and there is that space between, and we get to, you brought up choose. That's such a special moment in any choice that we're making. And when we can embody that, as you shared, when we can embody that, then that's also empowering our children to embody that as well. And so we can move from, as you shared as well, that space of reactivity into being proactive and responsive. So thank you for highlighting those core pieces and those core competencies within this work that we're doing, especially through that embodiment piece.
Mhm. Yeah,
Would
right.
you
So
like to share
it
the
is embodied. It's an embodied experience. And so many of us just sort of learn to disconnect from our bodies when we're working and we're busy and we're feeling time pressure and there's so much to accomplish. And we really learn how to ignore either an emotion or maybe a signal that our body's giving us. And why mindfulness based SEL is so important to me and so critical is that it really does bring us back to ourselves. And then we come back to being that embodied human being and we act from that place rather than from just the, here up, reactivity kind of place. And that can be a really powerful thing, especially when we're working with our students.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for all of us in our classrooms to be stuck in the head. And I know I get stuck there pretty often. And as I shared, even when we moved into this practice together, this conversation together, how just being aware of where is my body at in space and being able to come home, literally home within the body and present. And that's when we get to take that power back and step into our own power and where we are. So that's amazing. Thank you.
I think our teachers love a couple of the practices that are part of cultivating awareness and resilience in education, which is called CARE. And those two practices are the three breaths practice and also the grounding practice, because these are in the moment skills that you can take everywhere. They're highly portable. You can use these skills whenever you need a moment in time. And those are two skills that I find our teachers say, wow, just doing the three breaths practice helped me so much. And then, of course, once the teacher is confident and comfortable with that practice, it's become who they are, how they go about their day, then they're confident to share this with others. And then we're beginning to create a sense of calmness and groundedness within our environment, our work environment, our classroom, our school environment. And calm feels good. But we cannot assume that adults or students know how to find that place within themselves, right? We can help them learn how to find that place. And so the three breaths practice to me is sort of at the core of helping us to find that place. And I've had some beautiful moments where I've walked into a classroom to observe that teacher, feeling that energy in the classroom. A lot of energy is scattered about or whatever, and wanting to bring the students as well as themselves to really co-regulate in that moment, to get back to the learning in that place, and to hold up, three breaths. Hold their hand up for their three breaths, and their students see them, and their students stop. And together they all take those three breaths, and then they begin again. It's powerful.
Wow. That's beautiful. And so what I'm hearing you say is the teacher has the nonverbal signal and the whole class then knows what that means and then they engage in that practice together.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the teachers learn that skill for themselves first, right? They feel within their own bodies the impact that that makes and the health benefits of that and the sense of well-being. And then once we've got that established, then that teacher just naturally realizes this is something that my students would benefit from as well. You see, students want and will learn about the teacher's emotions, whatever those are, and they will watch and learn how the teacher self-regulates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, it's so powerful. And, at any moment, our way of being is sharing and teaching. And I also I really appreciated again how you mentioned from modeling, from moving from that and that intentional just action of modeling into the intentional way of being, and that co-regulation that we're having in any environment with our students and ourselves. And that's also, I feel, really empowering. What you're saying is, as a teacher, when I'm feeling my body giving me these signals, I feel empowered to be able to take action instead of just letting that feeling go deeper and deeper within. It kind of interrupts that process, and also then interrupts that process that may be happening in my students. And just that nonverbal, that's that explicit instruction to embed into the day. Yeah. Would you like to guide us in any a practice or even the 3 breaths as we begin to close our time together, or anything else you wish to share?
I would love to. And so, again, this is from one of the core practices from the CARE curriculum. And if you would like to, you can just imagine that you are standing in your classroom or you're seated in your classroom, and what that might feel like in that moment. And right now, I'll just guide you through the 3 breaths practice, which is that initially, what you would do is just stop and allow your body to become settled and still. And it doesn't matter if you're standing in your classroom or you're seated in your classroom, wherever you are. And just take a minute to come back to your own body. And in a moment, I'll invite you at your own pace to take 3 or 4 deep, slow breaths, where you will inhale deeply, and then you will release that breath and exhale very slowly. So now take a moment at your own pace to take 3 or 4 deep, slow, calming breaths. And then letting your breathing settle into its own natural rate and rhythm. Checking in to see how you feel in this moment. And then you're ready to proceed and to come back into your classroom, having taken just a moment in time to take care of your own health and well-being.
Thank you, Laurie. And just that simple and integrated practice, it really can shift classrooms and shift ourselves, and how we can do that at any moment. And what I appreciate is how we're finding different ways to connect these practices within us through mindfulness and through the explicit instruction of social and emotional learning together, and that core piece of that embodiment. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to just say here, I want to give a shout out to our micro credential that we have through mindfulness-based SEL instruction. So we, for the whole month of March, are putting that on a special discount for our hearts for 10% off. So if this is something that you're interested in, please feel free to explore it further on our website. If you would like to take your action step of following COSM or subscribing to the work that we're doing, you can visit our website at educatingmindfully.org. And we, again, are grateful to be able to celebrate both SEL Day and International Women's Day here together. And thank you all for all that you do and all who you are. Our next session will be here at, what is our timing at already? So at 1 o'clock Central, Athea will be here with us and engaging in our next practice. And as we always share and say, we always are so grateful for everything. And Laurie, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Lindsey. So good to see you today.
Great to see you. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.